Certain things are only meant to happen once in a century, like the 100-year flood or the 100-year pandemic. While we find ourselves in the midst of a truly novel situation, it is a good time to reflect upon other events that happen very infrequently today. We're looking at things that will happen only once in a lifetime. 1. The man cured of HIV. There have only been 2 men cured of HIV in the history of the world. The first one, Timothy Ray Brown, is simply referred to as the Berlin patient. 2006, after living with the virus for 11 years and controlling his infection with antiretroviral drugs, he learned that he had developed acute myeloid leukemia. The therapy failed in the next year. Brown, an American then living in Berlin, received the first of 2 bone marrow transplants, a common treatment for this cancer, and ditched his ARVs. When HIV-infected people stopped taking ARVs, levels of HIV typically skyrocketed within weeks, yet researchers, scouring Brown's blood over the past 7 years, have found only traces of the viral genetic material, none of which can replicate. The second is known as the London patient. His name is Adam Castillo, age 40, born in Venezuela. He has lived in London for nearly 20 years. The announcement of Mr. Castillo's cure last year electrified the scientific community and energized the pursuit of strategies for curing HIV. Mr. Castillo was found to have HIV in 2003 when he was just 23. 2. Frane Salak, the man who survived the most accidents. Salak is either the luckiest person in history or the unluckiest, depending on your perspective. In the course of several decades, he had 7 different brushes with death but walked away unscathed each time, then just to prove that he truly was exceptional. Frane won the lottery in 2003, though his life has been filled with extreme highs and lows. Salak's brushes with death started in January 1962 when he was riding a train through a cold, rainy canyon, and the train flipped off the tracks and crashed into a river. Someone pulled Salak to safety while 17 other unfortunate passengers drowned. Salak suffered a broken arm in hypothermia. The next year, during his first and only plane ride, he was blown out of the malfunctioning plane door and landed in a haystack. The plane crashed, killing 19 people. 3 years after that, in 1966, a bus that he was riding in skidded off the road and into a river. He survived with a few cuts and bruises. In 1970, his car caught fire as he was driving and he managed to escape before the fuel tank blew up. 3 years later, in another driving incident, the engine of his car was doused with hot oil from a malfunctioning fuel pump, causing flames to shoot through the air vents. In 1995, he was struck by a bus in Zagreb but sustained only minor injuries. In 1996, he eluded a head-on collision with a United Nations truck on a mountain curve by swerving into a guardrail, which gave way under the force of his car. He was ejected from the car when the door flew open, managed to hold onto a tree and watched his car plummet down 90 meters into a gorge. 3. 2 bullets colliding with each other. Pictures of 2 bullets that bizarrely collided in midair have caused quite a bit of excitement. There have been myriad assertions as to why and how this happened. One popular assertion is that somehow fate intervened to save the lives of 2 combatants. At first glance, the picture is fascinating. Both bullets appear to have been welded together. However, upon closer inspection and an analysis by some critics, it has been suggested that the round on the left bullet does not have any rifling on it at all. The veracity of the photo has been challenged, but some people claim that the bullets collided into one another at the Battle of Gallipoli in modern-day Turkey. 4. Diamond ring retrieved in a carrot. After losing her engagement ring on her family farm more than a decade ago, Canadian Mary Grahams resigned herself to the idea that she would never see it again. That is, until the diamond ring showed up 13 years after she lost it. Wrapped tightly around a misshapen carrot that had been freshly plucked from the garden. The 4-year-old said she likely lost the ring as she was pulling a large weed from her farm in central Alberta in 2004, prompting a frantic search. It was so weird how the carrot have grown perfectly through the ring. This is not the first time someone has found a diamond ring on a carrot. The BBC notes in 2011, A Swedish woman dug up her lost wedding ring snug around the top of a carrot after it went missing in her kitchen 16 years previously and apparently got tossed out with vegetable scraps. 5. The most unique fraternal twins. Fraternal twins can look as similar or dissimilar as any other siblings from features to size and height to hair color, so when they're born with different skin tones it's not really a big deal, or at least it shouldn't be. But somehow, thanks to the often confusing topic of racial identity stories like People magazine's biracial twins born in Illinois, it's so rare to still make headlines. 9-month-old Kalani inherited her mother Whitney Myers's lighter complexion while twin sister Durrani got her darker complexion from her father Thomas Dean. Maya is Caucasian while Dean is African American. The very fact that it's featured in a magazine along with their mother's exclamations, "Sure enough, they're biracial twins," suggests that these twins are so rare because their complexions are different enough that they belong to different racial groups. 6. Fire tornado. What's scarier than a tornado? A fire tornado. A firenado. How about a tornado that made a fire on July 26, 2018, the so-called car fire outside Redding, California spun the strongest tornado in state history. This rare and terrifying phenomenon was only the second true fire tornado in recorded history. In the first witnessed in the United States, wildfires have become an all too common phenomenon in California, the region's low humidity and scarce rainfall making an environment ripe for blazes. In fact, much of the state should burn naturally every 50 to 100 years or so. An occasional fire can even help the ecosystem. It's a way for nature to restore nutrients to the soil while cleansing the landscape of an overgrowth of moisture-rubbing vegetation, but people have been building homes in these regions.